The gate at Faitabad did not face anything important. To the north, Scrub Hills, pale and indifferent. To the east, a road that became a suggestion after the third mile, then became nothing. To the west, the river, which flooded every third year and apologized for nothing. The capital was 3 days' ride in the direction no one rode toward anymore, not since the trade routes had shifted 12 years ago and taken all the urgency with them. Hassan had been standing at this gate, or near this gate, or sleeping in the small guardhouse beside this gate for 22 years. He was 54, his beard had gone the color of ash wood. His knees announced themselves every morning with a sound like distant carpentry. He had buried one wife, raised 2 sons to adulthood without catastrophe, and learned slowly then completely that the world ran on paper, not on swords, not on the courage of men. Paper, an imperial farman bearing the correct seal could stop an army. He had seen it done. A letter of transit with the right counter-signature could move a man through 7 checkpoints without a question asked. He had done it himself, waving riders through in the grey pre-dawn because the document in their saddlebags said they deserved to pass. He never asked what was in the saddlebags. That was not in the document. This was not in curiosity. This was discipline. He had learned the discipline from his own commander, dead now 15 years, a man named Waris Khan, who smelled permanently of cardamom and had never, in Hassan's memory, made a single decision from instinct alone. Waris Khan would receive an order, read it twice, fold it, ask if there were any accompanying documents, read those, fold those, and only then open his mouth. Once, a man had arrived at their post bleeding from a wound in his shoulder, claiming to be a royal courier ambushed on the road, begging to be let through. Waris Khan had asked for his papers. The man had said his papers were in the saddlebag of a horse that had bolted. Waris Khan had said, "Then we must wait for written confirmation." The man had lived barely, and with a scar that Hassan later heard made him look distinguished at court. But Waris Khan's point had been made in a way no lecture could make it. The world was full of bleeding men with excellent stories. Paper did not bleed. Paper did not invent. Hassan had carried this forward like a lamp. His mornings ran in a groove worn smooth by repetition. Before dawn, the gate inspection, the hinges, oiled or not oiled, the locking bar seated or not seated, the chain from the guardhouse to the wall intact or not intact. He checked each with his hands, not his eyes. Eyes could be deceived by sleep and wishful thinking. Hands reported honestly. Then the register. Every day, a new line in the same hand, the same format, date, weather note. Persons departed through the gate. Persons admitted through the gate. Any documents examined. Any documents found irregular. In 22 years, the irregular column had been empty except for 4 entries, each of which he could recall with the precision of a man who had spent a long time in a quiet room. Then, tea. Then, the gate opened at the hour it always opened. His 2 junior guards, young men named Farooq and Javid, had given up trying to make conversation with him before the tea. Farooq was from somewhere coastal, smiled too easily, and had opinions about horses. Javid was quieter, smarter in the way young men are smart before experience complicates it, and had taken to writing his own register entries in an imitation of Hassan's hand that was almost perfect, almost. "You pressed too hard on the dowel," Hassan had told him once, pointing at a letter. Javid had stared at him. "A forger always presses too hard. He is concentrated." Natural writing does not concentrate. This was not a warning. It was information. Hassan offered it the way he offered all information, as a thing that existed, indifferent to whether it was wanted. Most days nothing happened. A farmer with a cart, a trader with a mule, and a letter of passage from the district qazi that needed to be verified against the register before Hassan would lift the bar. Once, a group of pilgrims moving south who had the correct documents for the wrong month. He had made them wait the 2 hours it took to send a messenger to the qazi's office and receive written clarification. They had prayed in the road outside the gate. He had watched them from the guardhouse. He had not felt cruel. He had felt precise. This was the world as Hassan understood it. The paper said a thing. He did the thing. The empire held together one gate at a time, one verified seal at a time. Somewhere in the capital, the emperor sat on a throne supported by the accumulated weight of millions of small correct decisions made by men like Hassan. It was not a romantic idea, it was a structural one. He believed it, absolutely. This is the thing to understand about Hassan before the story becomes difficult. He was not a foolish man. He was not a cruel one. He was a man who had built himself entirely around a principle. The document over the voice, the seal over the face, the written word over the spoken one, and had never been given sufficient reason to question whether the principle could be weaponized. He was about to be given that reason. It arrived as all dangerous things at Fatabad arrived, in the form of paper. The courier rode in on a Tuesday mid-morning, when the light came flat and white off the eastern scrub. Hassan saw the imperial saddlecloth first, red with the gold border. He straightened his back before the horse had cleared the road's second bend. Behind him, Farouk murmured something. Hassan did not turn around. The courier dismounted, produced the document satchel from inside his coat, the inside, not the saddlebag, which meant the contents were considered sensitive, and handed it to Hassan without speaking. Couriers of this class did not speak. Their job ended at the handoff. Hassan understood this. He opened the satchel. Inside, a single folded document, heavy paper, the kind that came from the imperial chancery and nowhere else. He unfolded it. He read it once, then again. It was a farman, an imperial decree issued under the emperor's seal. He checked the seal against the register of known seal impressions he kept in the guardhouse, a practice Waris Khan had insisted upon and which Hassan had maintained for 22 years without the comparison ever mattering. It mattered now. The impression matched. The farman was dated 6 weeks prior. It ordered the gate at Fatabad to deny entry and exit to one Giyas Beg, merchant, and his associates, his employees, his agents, and any caravan traveling under his name or seal. It cited, without elaboration, matters of imperial concern. It bore the emperor's seal. It bore a counter-signature from the office of the provincial administrator. Hassan folded it. He entered it in the register. He had Farouk witness the entry. He placed the original in the document box, which was iron, which was locked, and the key to which lived on a cord around his neck. The courier had already gone. That afternoon, Giyas Beg arrived. He came with 3 wagons, 6 men, and a personal bearing that suggested he had never in his life been stopped at a gate and did not believe today would be the start of that experience. He was a large man, broad in the chest, with a merchant's eyes, quick, assessing, calculating 3 exchanges at once, and a merchant's patience, which is to say none. Hassan stepped in front of his lead horse. Hassanji, the merchant, said he knew the name, which meant he had been through this gate before, which Hassan confirmed against the register in under a minute. Let me through. I have a family inside. I have a delivery scheduled. I have been through this gate 40 times. You have been through this gate 37 times, Hassan said. I have the record. Giyas Beg stared at him. Hassan produced the farman. He held it so the merchant could read it without touching it. Merchants touched documents and left oil from their fingers, which was not something the register of imperial orders needed. Giyas Beg read it. His face did something complicated. He produced from his own coat a letter. A letter from a trade guild in the provincial capital. A letter from a Qazi attesting to his good standing. A letter from someone at court, not the emperor, a secretary of something, a man whose title filled 4 lines. Hassan read each one. He handed each one back. These are not imperial farmans, he said. I require written confirmation from an authority equal to or exceeding the document I have received in order to override it. This letter is from I know who it is from. I read it. It is not a farman. My children are inside this fort. I understand. My wife. I understand. You understand. Giyas Beg said, and the word came out like something he'd bitten down on, and you are still standing in front of my horse. I am standing in front of your horse. The merchant looked at him for a long time. Hassan looked back. This was not a contest. It was just 2 men standing on either side of a principle, and the principle was the gate, and the gate did not move. Giyas Beg turned his wagons around. His men did not speak. One of them looked at Hassan with an expression Hassan catalogued and filed. Not hatred, something more complicated than hatred, something that understood something Hassan did not. Hassan went inside and wrote up the encounter in the register. Date, time, person denied entry. Document on which the denial was based. He pressed evenly on the dial. That night he slept well. He had done his job. The paper said a thing. He had done the thing. Mirza Salim came to the gate 3 days later. He did not come to gates as a rule. Mirza Salim was the fort's administrator, its civilian authority, the man who managed everything inside the walls that the military command did not. He was perhaps 40, perhaps 45, with the kind of face that gave nothing away for free, and the kind of clothes that had been made by someone who charged for their silence. He wore no jewelry. He never raised his voice. These were, Hassan had always thought, the signs of a careful man. He revised this thought later. They were the signs of a man who had learned that loudness draws witnesses. Mirza Salim stood at the gate and inquired, with considerable courtesy, how the enforcement of the merchant farman was proceeding. Hassan reported precisely, denial effected. Registered documents verified, no override received. Mirza Salim nodded. He said the enforcement was to continue strictly. No family members of the merchant to be permitted exits to meet him, no messages to be passed through the gate bearing his name, no exceptions, regardless of what documents those exceptions might arrive with. Hassan noted this instruction. Then, because he was Hassan, he said, "If I receive an order of equal or greater authority, you will not," Mirza Salim said pleasantly. Hassan said, "Nevertheless, the procedure in that circumstance would be, Hassan, the administrator said his name the way you say the name of a tool that is working correctly and does not need adjustment. The farman is clear, your job is clear." Continue. Hassan said, of course, then, because the thing was bothering the pebble in the shoe part of him, that he never acknowledged, "Do you have a copy of the farman in the administrative records? For cross-verification purposes, I would like to. I will have my clerk send one over." The clerk never sent one over. Hassan noted this in the section of his mind labeled things that are not his job to pursue. The section was large. It had been useful for 22 years. He went back to his gate. Somewhere behind the walls, in the merchant's house, Giyas Beg's wife, Rukhsar, was explaining to their daughter Noor that Papa was delayed on the road and would come soon. Noor was 6. She believed her mother. Her mother did not believe herself. Hassan did not know any of this. No one had written it down for him. The physician arrived on a Thursday, 4 weeks into the enforcement. He was an old man, smelling of cloves and camphor, carrying a small leather case and a letter from the district Qazi attesting that he had been engaged by the merchant Giyas Beg to attend to a patient inside the fort. The letter was properly signed and sealed, Qazi level, not imperial level, but the Qazi was a recognized authority for civil matters, and Hassan had accepted Qazi letters for civil matters before. He read the letter twice. He read the relevant section of the farman twice. The farman said, "No associates, no agents, no persons traveling under the merchant's name or seal." The physician was traveling under a letter that named the merchant as the engaging party. Hassan said, "I cannot admit you under this letter. You are traveling as an agent of the person named in the restriction." The physician said, "It is a child." Hassan said, "I understand. If the family inside wishes to arrange for a physician through a request that does not pass through the merchant's authorization, I can consider. By the time that letter comes the child, I require written confirmation." Hassan said, to override a written order. The physician looked at him, not with the merchant's complicated expression, with something simpler, exhaustion and recognition, the look of a man who had seen what paperwork could do to a body before paperwork understood it had done anything. He turned around and walked back down the road. Hassan wrote the encounter in the register. Person denied entry. Document examined. Document insufficient. He pressed evenly on the dial. The child's fever broke on its own. 2 days later, he did not know this. No one wrote it down for him. He slept well. He had done his job. This is the part of the story that requires you to hold 2 things at once. Hassan was not wrong that the letter was insufficient under the terms of the farman. He was also not right. These 2 things were both entirely true, and they shared the same action, the same gate, the same man standing in front of it. The law is not the same as justice. Hassan knew only the law. He had built himself to know only the law. The child's fever broke on its own. It was the last gift the story gave anyone for a long time. It arrived 8 weeks after the first. Same imperial saddlecloth, same type of courier, same inside the coat delivery, same heavy chancery paper, different content. Hassan read it once, then again. Then a third time, which he had never done with a document before in 22 years. The second farman ordered the immediate restoration of all passage rights to Gihas Beg, merchant of Fatehabad, and his family and associates. It cited an earlier restriction not by document number. Imperial farmans did not carry document numbers, which was a gap in the system Hassan had noted before and noted again now, and superseded it. It bore the emperor's seal. He checked it against the register. It matched. It bore a countersignature from the office of the Imperial Chamberlain, a different office than the first farman's countersignature, higher in the court hierarchy. He set it next to the first farman on his desk. They sat there, side by side, like two men insisting they were both the bridegroom. Farooq, standing in the doorway, said, "So we let him through now." Hassan said, "Which document supersedes which?" Farooq said, "The new one, obviously the new one." Hassan said, "The new one is dated later, but the first one has not been formally revoked. A farman does not cease to be a farman because another farman disagrees with it. I need clarification on which holds legal precedence under current protocol." Farooq said Hassanji, his daughter, was sick. Hassan said she was sick 4 weeks ago. "I do not have current information." Farooq said nothing. He had learned, in 2 years at this post, that certain conversations with Hassan were walls, not doors. That afternoon, Hassan wrote to the provincial administrative capital. He described the situation precisely. He included copies of both documents, certified by his hand and witnessed by Javid. He asked for a ruling on which document held authority and in what manner conflicting imperial orders were to be resolved. He sent the letter by the fastest available courier. Then he went back to the gate. He enforced the first farman. He had received it first. Until told otherwise in writing by a competent authority, it was the order he had. This was procedure. Procedure was the ground he stood on. If procedure had a crack in it, he could not see the crack and he could not step off the ground. Gihas Beg came to the gate that evening. Someone inside had told him about the second farman. His face held a feeling that was not quite hope. Hope that has been broken enough times doesn't come back looking the same, but something in the same family. Adjacent to hope, cautious hope, the kind of hope that keeps its coat on. Hassan explained the situation, both documents, the written inquiry, the need for a ruling. Gihas Beg listened. He said, "How long?" Hassan said, "The capital is 3 days' ride. A ruling must pass through the relevant offices, 6 weeks at best, likely more." Something went out of the merchant's face, not dramatically, not like a candle blown out, like a candle that runs down. He said, "My daughter's name is Noor." He said it the way you say a thing you need someone to hold for you, even if they are not going to hold it well. Hassan wrote the name in the register. He did not know why. It was not procedurally required. He wrote it anyway, in his careful, even hand, under the date. Noor, daughter of Gihas Beg. He waited 4 months for the capital's response. It never came. The inspector's name was Ishak, and he arrived not from the emperor's direct office, but from the Diwan-i-Ala, the High Administrative Court, a body that existed specifically to investigate the administrators of administrators, the watchers of those who watched. He arrived without imperial saddlecloth, a plain horse, a plain coat, a saddlebag that looked like a merchant's saddlebag, which Hassan later understood was deliberate. He handed Hassan a letter of entry from the Diwani-Ala itself and waited while Hassan checked the seal. Hassan checked the seal. He checked the register of known seals. He read the letter of authorization 4 times. Then he stepped aside. The inspector stayed in the fort for 6 days. On the 4th day, he asked to speak with Hassan. They sat in the guardhouse. Hassan made tea. The inspector put a document on the small table between them, a copy, not an original, but certified by the Diwan-i-Ala's own seal. He put it face up and let Hassan read it. Hassan read it. It was the first farman. Specifically, it was a report on the first farman. The emperor's seal, genuine. The imperial paper had been stolen from a courier's satchel 6 months before the farman's issuance, during a period of administrative confusion following a change in the provincial courier rotation. The seal impression, genuine, taken from legitimate imperial paper, the emperor's authorization, absent. The farman's counter-signature, from the office of the provincial administrator, specifically from the desk of Mirza Salim, was not supported by any corresponding instruction from the imperial court. Mirza Salim had used stolen imperial paper, bearing a real impression of the imperial seal, to manufacture a farman the emperor had never ordered. The content of the restriction, the denial of passage to Ghiyas Beg, served Mirza Salim's commercial interests directly. Ghiyas Beg's trade route competed with a caravan operation in which Mirza Salim held an undisclosed financial stake. A 6-month blockade at Fatehabad would have broken Ghiyas Beg's contracts, his relationships, his business. He had survived it, barely, by rerouting at enormous cost. Several smaller traders in his network had not survived it. The second farman, the one ordering the restriction lifted, was genuine in every particular. It had been issued when the emperor's attention had finally been drawn to the situation by a petition from the Merchants Guild in the provincial capital. Hussain had spent 4 months enforcing a forgery. He sat with this. The inspector waited. He was a man experienced in delivering information that required sitting time. Hassan read the report again. He checked the Diwan-i-Ala's seal against his register. It matched. He set the document down. The seal on the first farman was genuine. He said finally, "The paper was stolen," the inspector said. "The seal was pressed onto that paper by someone with access to the imperial stamp. The emperor never issued the order. The seal matched my register." "Yes." "There was no way to distinguish it, not from the gate," the inspector said, not unkindly. Hassan was quiet for a moment, then the counter-signature. "Yes, I noted it was from the provincial administrator's office. I did not think. There was no reason you would have. He never produced his own copy when I asked." The inspector looked at him. 3 days after the farman arrived, Hassan said, "I asked the administrator for a cross-verification copy. He said his clerk would send one. The clerk never sent one. I noted it. Where did you note it?" Hassan stood up and went to the register. He found the entry. He turned the book and put it in front of the inspector. The inspector read it. He was still for a moment. Then he looked up. "You noted it," he said. "It was irregular," Hassan said. "I note irregularities. You note everything." "Yes," the inspector sat back. He looked at Hassan with the expression of a man recalculating something. Then he asked, "May I see all your register entries for the period of enforcement?" Hassan put the box on the table. He unlocked it with the key from the cord around his neck. He placed every entry, dated and witnessed, in front of the inspector in chronological order. Hassan went outside and stood at his gate. He stood there for a long time. The light came flat and white off the eastern scrub, the same as always. The gate was the same gate. The road was the same road. His knees made the same carpentry sounds. He thought about the physician with the leather case. He thought about the name in the register, Noor, daughter of Ghiyas Beg. A name he had written down because a man had needed somewhere to put it. And Hassan's register was the only place in his world where anything was permanently kept. He thought about Waris Khan and the bleeding courier and the line about written confirmation. He thought about how a principle looks exactly the same, whether it is protecting something or being used to hollow something out. How you cannot tell from the outside. How you can only tell once the inside has been shown to you, and by then the hollowing is done. Javed brought him tea. The young man did not say anything. He set the tea on the small ledge by the gate, where Hassan always put his cup, and went back inside. When the inspector came out an hour later, he stopped beside Hassan. "This is going to be difficult for you," he said. Hassan looked at the road. "I enforced the order," Hassan said. "I enforced it correctly, by every procedure I knew." "Yes, and the procedure was used against me." "Yes." Hassan drank his tea. "I would like to ask you," the inspector said carefully, "whether you would be willing to provide a formal statement." "I require," Hassan said, "written confirmation of your authority to take my statement. I know you showed me your letter of entry. I want a specific written authorization to take statements from personnel of this post." The inspector looked at him. Something moved in Hassan's face. "Not humor, older than humor." "You understand I'm not obstructing," Hassan said. "I understand," the inspector said. "I am ensuring that whatever I provide you is procedurally unimpeachable. If this goes to the Diwan-i-Ala, I want every document in order. I want every authorization explicit. I want nothing that can be challenged on procedural grounds." The inspector was quiet for a moment. "You know what you're doing," he said. I know what documents do, Hassan said. I have known it for 22 years. I know that a forger always presses too hard. I know that a gate guard who keeps a precise register is very difficult to dismiss. He handed the teacup to Javid, who had reappeared in the doorway. Get me the authorization, he said to the inspector, in writing, with the proper seal. Then I will tell you everything I know. It took Hassan 11 days to write the statement. He did it the way he did everything, slowly, evenly, without pressing too hard on the dial. He wrote in chronological order. He cited every register entry. He cross-referenced every document examined. He noted the date and time of every person admitted, denied, or questioned at the gate during the period of the fireman's enforcement. He noted Mirza Salim's visit. He noted the request for a cross-verification copy. He noted the absence of the copy. He noted the physician. He noted the inquiry he had sent to the capital, which had received no reply, and noted the date of that inquiry and the name of the courier he had used, who was still reachable and willing to testify to the delivery. He noted the name Noor. He did not explain why. The register was not a place for explanation. The statement was 47 pages long. Every page was witnessed by Javed, whose handwriting Hassan had corrected for years and who pressed evenly now. He sent it to the Diwan-i-Ala with the inspector. He never attended a hearing. He was never asked to travel to the capital. No one made a speech about his integrity. No one gave him anything. Mirza Salim was removed from his post 4 months later. The same 4 months, Hassan had waited for a ruling that never came from the capital, which struck him as a coincidence the universe had arranged with a certain dry humor. The removal was recorded in an administrative circular that reached Fatabad 6 weeks after the fact. Hassan read the circular. He filed it. Giyas Beg came to the gate on the day after the second fireman's enforcement finally began the real enforcement. Unopposed, the merchant walking through the gate he had been kept from for 6 months. He stopped in front of Hassan. Hassan expected anger, had thought about anger, had prepared in his way for the confrontation. Giyas Beg looked at him for a long time. Then he said, "My daughter is well." Hassan said, "I know. I received a written report." He had asked for one. The inspector had sent it. The child had recovered from the fever on her own, weeks before the investigation had even begun. She was 6 years old and had recently developed opinions about which color thread her mother should use for embroidery. These facts were in the report. Hassan had read the report and filed it in the document box. He had not told anyone the report had made him sit on the floor of the guardhouse for some time. That was not in any document. Giyas Beg said, "You kept her name." Hassan said, "I keep everything." The merchant looked at him, not with forgiveness, which would have required a debt, and Hassan had decided the debt was too large and too complicated for either of them to benefit from its formal transfer, not with hatred, which had burned itself out somewhere in the 6 months of closed gates, with something in between. Recognition. The look of one man who understands how a system works, meeting another man who has understood it longer and been inside it deeper and come out wearing the same face he went in with, nearly. The merchant went through the gate. Hassan wrote it in the register. Date, time, person admitted. Document examined the second fireman finally properly, the emperor's actual voice. He wrote it all down. He pressed evenly. Farouk appeared at his elbow. "So it's over," Farouk said. "The matter is resolved," Hassan said. "That's the same thing." Hassan looked at the road. The scrub hills pale and indifferent. The river to the west. The road east that became a suggestion, and then nothing. "There are more farmers," he said. Farouk waited. "Every day," Hassan said. "More documents, more seals. Most of them are what they say they are. A few of them are what someone needed them to say." He paused. "You cannot always tell from the outside." "So what do you do?" Farouk said. Hassan said, "You keep your register. You note every irregularity. You check the seal against the record of known seals. You ask for cross-verification copies. You write down the name of every person you turn away." He picked up his tea. "And you understand that the procedure is a tool. It does not have a conscience. You have to be the conscience. That is not written in any document anywhere. You have to carry it yourself." Farouk looked at him. "You've been thinking about this for a while," Farouk said. 22 years, Hassan said. "I was simply wrong about what I was thinking about." The gate stood open. Hassan said, "I will tell you everything I know." He wrote it in the register. Date, time, person admitted. Document examined the second fireman finally properly, the emperor's actual voice. He noted the report. Hassan had read the report. He filed it in the document box. Hassan read the circular. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document box. He noted the report. He filed it in the document bo The road went east, becoming a suggestion, becoming nothing. Somewhere at the end of it, the capital. The emperor, the weight of millions of small correct decisions holding the empire up, or trying to. Hassan stood at his post. His knees announced themselves. The gate hinge needed oil. He had noted it this morning and would address it before nightfall. The register sat on the desk inside, this day's entry not yet written. He had the seal in his hand. He pressed it against the back of his palm, the way he had done every morning for 22 years, feeling its weight. It was the same seal, something behind his eyes was different. The paper did not tell him what that was. He went inside and opened the register to a new page. He wrote the date. He wrote the weather. He picked up his pen and held it for a moment before writing anything else. Then he wrote, "All documents examined today. No irregularities." He pressed evenly on the dial. He went back to the gate.